Have you ever wondered why some people seem to remain happy and peaceful, no matter what life throws at them? What if there was a way to feel more content and calm, even in the chaos of everyday life? Is it possible to find lasting happiness, or are we just chasing fleeting moments of joy? Imagine you're walking through a crowded market, the noise and chaos all around you. People pushing and shouting, the hustle of daily life overwhelming your senses. But then, you spot a monk sitting quietly on a bench, his face calm and serene amidst the chaos. How does he do it? What's his secret to staying peaceful even in such a busy world? Welcome to Wisdom Woven. In today's video, we'll explore how you can stay happy and peaceful in life, drawing insights from the teachings of Buddhism. If you want to transform your life and bring more peace and happiness into your everyday experience, you're in the right place. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel to join this journey toward a happier and more peaceful you. Together, let's unlock the wisdom that can change our lives. In this video, we'll uncover simple, powerful practices and insights that can help you develop true inner peace. These teachings are not just theories. They are practical steps you can take right now to feel more grounded and serene. So, let's dive in and start this journey to lasting happiness and peace. Understanding the nature of suffering. To truly understand how to stay peaceful and happy, we must first recognize something essential. Suffering is a part of life. It doesn't matter who you are, where you live, or how much you have. Suffering touches everyone. But this doesn't mean we are destined to live in sorrow. In fact, once we understand the nature of suffering, we can begin to find a way out of it. Suffering is not just about big events like losing a loved one or facing illness. It also includes the small, everyday frustrations that we all experience. A long wait, a traffic jam, a disagreement, or the feeling that something is always missing. These everyday struggles are part of the same cycle. They remind us that life, as we know it, is full of change, loss, and impermanence. But the good news is that there's a way to understand and overcome suffering. The Buddha, the great teacher of Buddhism, once said, "Life is suffering." This statement might sound harsh at first, but it's a deep truth. He wasn't saying that life is only suffering, but that suffering is an unavoidable part of our human experience. From birth to death, we face challenges, physical pain, emotional pain, disappointment, and fear. These things are all woven into our lives. But here's where it gets interesting. The Buddha didn't just leave us with the idea that suffering is inevitable. He taught us that suffering has a cause, and that cause is attachment. This means we suffer because we cling to things, people, and experiences, believing they will bring us lasting happiness. We think that our happiness depends on certain conditions. If we have the perfect job, the ideal relationship, or the perfect health, we will be happy. But this belief leads us into suffering because nothing in life stays the same. Consider this. Have you ever wanted something so badly, whether it was a new phone, a new job, or even a vacation, and thought, "Once I get this, I'll be happy"? But then, when you finally get it, the happiness fades. You want something else. This is the nature of attachment. It's the belief that external things can create lasting happiness. But true peace comes from letting go of this belief. The Buddha taught that we suffer because we are attached to three things: desire, aversion, and ignorance. Desire is wanting something we don't have. Aversion is pushing away something we don't want. Ignorance is simply not seeing things as they truly are. These three create a cycle of craving and resistance, pulling us in different directions and keeping us stuck in suffering. Once we realize that attachment is the root of our suffering, we can begin to change our approach to life. This doesn't mean we give up on everything or stop caring about what happens to us. It simply means that we stop depending on external circumstances for our happiness. Instead, we turn inward and cultivate a deep sense of peace and contentment within ourselves. How do we do this? One of the first steps is to accept life as it is. This doesn't mean that we stop striving to improve ourselves or our situations, but it means that we stop resisting what is already here. Life is full of ups and downs, and if we spend all our energy wishing things were different, we will never find peace. When we accept things as they are, without judgment or resistance, we create the space for peace to enter. Another important aspect of understanding suffering is recognizing that it is not permanent. Just as happiness doesn't last forever, neither does suffering. Both are temporary. The more we resist suffering, the more it stays with us. But if we accept it, feel it fully, and let it pass, it loses its power over us. Like clouds in the sky, suffering appears and disappears. It comes, it goes, but the sky remains unchanged. This is how we can approach suffering, with acceptance and the knowledge that it is not permanent. In our daily lives, we are often caught up in cycles of desire and aversion. We desire certain outcomes, people, and experiences, and we push away things we don't want. But this constant tug-of-war creates inner conflict. The key to peace is not in avoiding discomfort, but in learning how to be at peace with discomfort when it arises. This doesn't mean that we have to like suffering or seek it out, but it means that when suffering comes, we don't need to fight it. We can sit with it, acknowledge it, and allow it to pass. Imagine that you are sitting by a river, watching the water flow. If you see a log floating down the river, you don't try to stop it or change its direction. You simply watch it go by. This is how we can approach suffering, without clinging to it, but also without resisting it. As we learn to understand suffering in this way, we also begin to realize that suffering is universal. It's not something that only happens to us. Everyone, in their own way, faces pain and challenges. And this shared experience connects us all. Instead of seeing suffering as something to avoid or escape, we can begin to see it as a teacher. It reminds us that we are all human, and that we all have the potential to overcome suffering and find peace. In Buddhism, there is a practice known as compassion, which involves recognizing the suffering of others and responding with kindness and care. This practice teaches us to not only understand our own suffering, but to also reach out to others who are in pain. By acknowledging the struggles of others, we begin to see that we are not alone in our suffering. This connection with others helps to reduce the weight of our own struggles and opens the door to greater peace. To understand the nature of suffering is to understand that it is a part of life, but it does not have to define our lives. When we stop clinging to desires and attachments, we free ourselves from the cycle of craving and resistance. We begin to see the impermanence of all things and develop the wisdom to navigate life's challenges with grace and ease. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, what are you holding on to in your life? What attachments or desires are causing you stress or unhappiness? And how might you begin to let go of these attachments, step by step, to find true peace? The key to lasting happiness doesn't lie in avoiding suffering. It lies in understanding it and learning how to live peacefully with it. When you begin to shift your perspective, you open yourself to a deeper, more lasting sense of peace, regardless of what life throws your way. The Four Noble Truths, a blueprint for inner peace. The path to inner peace begins with understanding the truth. But what is the truth? What is the reality that all of us must face, no matter who we are or where we come from? The Buddha, a long time ago, discovered what he called the Four Noble Truths. These truths aren't just ideas. They are the keys to understanding our suffering and finding peace. When we truly understand these truths, we can change our lives. We can let go of the things that cause us pain and open the door to true happiness. Let us begin with the first truth, the truth of suffering. It might sound strange to talk about suffering, especially when we want to be happy. But it is important to acknowledge that suffering is a part of life. Everyone experiences it. It comes in many forms: physical pain, emotional pain, the pain of loss, the pain of feeling alone. Sometimes, it feels like suffering is always around us. It is in our struggles, our disappointments, and our fears. But here's the important thing. Suffering is not permanent. It comes and goes. If we can accept that suffering is part of life, it doesn't have to control us. Now, the second truth. The truth of the cause of suffering. Why do we suffer? The Buddha taught that suffering is caused by craving, by wanting things to be different than they are. We want more success, more money, more love, more happiness. But craving is like trying to hold on to water with our hands. The more we try to grab, the more it slips away. When we hold tightly to things or people, we end up feeling anxious and afraid. We fear losing them, and in that fear, we suffer. Our craving for more, for something else, is the root of our pain. The third truth is the truth of the end of suffering. This is the good news, the hope. The Buddha said that it is possible to end suffering. We can free ourselves from the endless cycle of craving and fear. How? By letting go, not by giving up everything, but by learning to accept what we have, to appreciate the present moment. This doesn't mean we stop wanting or stop trying, but we do so with a peaceful heart, knowing that happiness doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. When we stop clinging to things, we can find a deep sense of peace that nothing can take away. The fourth truth, the truth of the path leading to the end of suffering. Now that we know suffering has a cause and that it can end, how do we get there? The Buddha shared the Noble Eightfold Path, 8 practices to guide us toward a life of peace. It's not about following rules. It's about living with wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness. The Eightfold Path is a way of life, a guide for how we can think, speak, and act in ways that reduce our suffering and increase our happiness. It is a journey, not a destination, but each step on the path brings us closer to peace. Let's take a moment to look at these 8 steps. Right view. This is about seeing the world as it truly is. It's about understanding that everything is changing and that suffering is part of life. When we see life clearly, we can make wiser choices. Right intention. This means having good intentions, not harming others or ourselves. It's about acting from a place of kindness and compassion. Right speech. Our words have power. When we speak truthfully, kindly, and thoughtfully, we create harmony around us and inside us. Right action. This is about doing the right thing. It means acting with integrity and compassion, avoiding actions that cause harm. Right livelihood. This is about choosing a way of life that doesn't cause harm to others. It's about earning a living in a way that is ethical and peaceful. Right effort. This is about making an effort to be the best version of ourselves. It's about cultivating positive qualities and letting go of negative ones. Right mindfulness. This is about being aware of what's happening in the present moment. Mindfulness helps us see things clearly and respond wisely instead of reacting impulsively. Right concentration. This is the practice of meditation. It's about focusing the mind and developing deep awareness and insight. These steps are not something we master in a day. They are lifelong practices. But with each step, we move closer to a peaceful, joyful life. And remember, the path doesn't need to be perfect. Even the smallest step forward brings us closer to the end of suffering. But why is it so important to understand these truths? Because when we understand the 4 noble truths, we see the world differently. We no longer have to fight against life's challenges. Instead, we can embrace them with wisdom and compassion. We can let go of the desire for things to be different, and in that release, we find peace. So, how can we apply these truths in our everyday lives? When you feel upset, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what am I craving right now? What am I holding on to that is causing me pain? It might be a situation, a person, or even a feeling. Understanding that craving is the cause of suffering allows you to gently release your grip. Instead of wishing things were different, accept what is, and in that acceptance, you'll find freedom. The 4 noble truths teach us to live with awareness, to understand that suffering is part of life, but it doesn't define us, to realize that our cravings cause us pain, and to let go of those cravings opens the door to peace. And finally, to walk the path of wisdom, kindness, and mindfulness, guiding us toward the end of suffering and the beginning of a life full of happiness and peace. In the next part, we'll explore how mindfulness can become the foundation of a peaceful and happy life. Until then, remember that the path to peace begins with understanding the truths of our existence and taking the first step on that path. Mindfulness as a key to tranquility. In the quiet stillness of the present moment, there is peace. This peace is not a faraway dream or something that you must search for. It is right here, right now, in every breath you take, in every thought that arises, and in the simplicity of being. The key to unlocking this peace is mindfulness. Mindfulness means being fully present. It is the practice of paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and actions without judgment, without trying to change anything. It's about observing what is happening within and around you, just as it is. When you practice mindfulness, You stop being lost in the past or the future. Instead, you are here, fully engaged with the present moment. Imagine you are sitting by a river. The water flows gently, the sounds of nature fill the air, and the sunlight dances on the surface. If you are mindful, you can feel the cool breeze on your skin, hear the sound of the water, and see the beauty all around you. If your mind wanders to yesterday's worries or tomorrow's tasks, you miss the serenity of the river, the calmness in the moment. This is the power of mindfulness. It brings you back to the present. It helps you experience life as it truly is, without the filters of past experiences or future expectations. Mindfulness is not just a practice for meditation. It is something you can bring into every aspect of your daily life. Whether you are eating, walking, talking, or simply sitting, there is an opportunity to practice mindfulness. In each of these moments, you can be fully present, noticing the small details that often go unnoticed. In Buddhism, mindfulness is a path to liberation. It is through mindfulness that we can see the true nature of our thoughts, our desires, and our attachments. By becoming aware of these things, we can begin to let them go. We learn not to be controlled by our thoughts and emotions, but to observe them without getting caught up in them. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice how often our minds drift to the past or future. We think about what happened yesterday or worry about what might happen tomorrow. This constant mental chatter creates stress and prevents us from experiencing peace. But when we bring our attention back to the present moment, we find a quiet space where we can simply be. One way to practice mindfulness is through mindful breathing. Take a moment to focus on your breath. Feel the air entering your nose, filling your lungs, and then slowly leaving your body. Notice the rhythm of your breath. With each inhale, you are alive. With each exhale, you are letting go. This simple practice can help you center yourself, calm your mind, and bring a sense of peace to your life. Another way to practice mindfulness is through mindful listening. The next time you have a conversation, truly listen to the person speaking. Pay attention to their words, their tone, and their body language. Don't think about what you're going to say next or get distracted by other thoughts. Just listen. This not only improves your relationships, but also helps you stay grounded in the moment. Mindfulness also helps you become more aware of your emotions. Instead of reacting impulsively, mindfulness allows you to pause and notice what you're feeling. Are you angry? Sad? Happy? Anxious? By recognizing your emotions without judgment, you create space between your feelings and your actions. You can choose how to respond, rather than simply reacting out of habit. As you continue practicing mindfulness, you begin to develop a deep sense of inner peace. This peace does not depend on external circumstances. It is not dependent on whether things go the way you want them to. It is a peace that arises from within, from the simple act of being present with what is. Over time, mindfulness becomes a way of life. It changes the way you see the world, the way you see yourself, and the way you interact with others. Instead of being caught up in the noise of the world, you become more centered. Instead of being swept away by your emotions, you become more balanced. And instead of being consumed by the endless cycle of striving, you begin to appreciate the simplicity of just being. Mindfulness also helps you cultivate gratitude. When you are present in each moment, you begin to notice the small blessings that you might otherwise overlook. You notice the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of birds singing in the morning, the taste of food as you eat. These small moments of beauty bring a deep sense of gratitude and contentment. Through mindfulness, you come to understand that happiness is not something you need to chase or find. It is already within you. It is in every breath, every moment, every step. By becoming more mindful, you begin to uncover this happiness, layer by layer. And as you do, you discover that true peace is not found in external things or circumstances. It is found in the quiet stillness of the present moment. So, let mindfulness be your guide. Let it lead you back to the present moment, where peace resides. It is through this simple practice that you will find the tranquility and happiness you seek. The more you practice mindfulness, the more natural it becomes, and the more it transforms your life. Remember, mindfulness is not about perfection. It is about being gentle with yourself, being present, and observing without judgment. There will be moments when your mind wanders, and that is okay. The practice is simply to bring your attention back to the present moment again and again. Each time you do, you are strengthening your ability to be at peace with whatever arises. As you continue on this journey, let mindfulness be your anchor. It will ground you in the present, calm your mind, and bring you a deep sense of peace. In the stillness of the present moment, you will find the happiness and tranquility that have always been within you. The power of compassion in daily life. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to become focused only on ourselves. We get wrapped up in our daily struggles, our desires, our plans. It's natural to think about our needs first, but true peace and happiness come when we turn our attention outward, toward others. This is where compassion comes in. Compassion isn't just about feeling sorry for someone or wanting to help when they're in need. It's a deeper understanding that we all experience suffering, that we all face challenges. It's about recognizing that, just like us, others want to be happy, to be free from pain, to find peace. When we open our hearts to this truth, we begin to cultivate compassion, not just in moments of hardship, but every day, in every encounter. Think of a moment when you felt the pain of another. Perhaps it was a friend going through a tough time, or a stranger who seemed down. You might have offered a smile, a kind word, or simply sat quietly with them. In that moment, your heart expanded, didn't it? You didn't need to solve their problems, but simply sharing that moment of connection can ease their burden, even if just a little. This is the power of compassion. Buddhism teaches that compassion is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It's the antidote to selfishness, the cure for loneliness, and the path to deeper connection. Compassion helps us see beyond our own limited perspective, allowing us to step into another's shoes, even if just for a moment. When we do this, we begin to see that we're not so different after all. We all share the same basic desires: to be happy, to feel safe, to experience love. But it doesn't stop there. True compassion extends beyond just feeling for others. It calls us to action. It invites us to do something, even if it's just a small gesture, to make someone's life a little easier. This could be as simple as holding the door open for someone, listening without judgment, or offering a helping hand when you see someone struggling. Each act of compassion plants a seed, and over time, these seeds grow into a garden of goodwill and positive energy. Compassion also teaches us to soften our judgments. It's easy to be critical, to point out flaws in others, to assume that we know what's best for them. But when we approach others with compassion, we begin to let go of the need to be right. We stop labeling people as good or bad, smart or foolish. Instead, we see them as human beings, just like ourselves, struggling and striving for happiness. This shift in perspective makes us more patient, more understanding, and less likely to be upset by others' actions. Now, you might wonder, how can we practice compassion in our busy, modern lives? How can we find the time or the energy to be compassionate when we're already juggling so many responsibilities? The answer lies in making compassion a part of our daily routine. Start small. Begin with yourself. Show yourself kindness and understanding. Treat yourself with the same care that you would offer to a friend. When we are gentle and compassionate toward ourselves, we have more to give to others. Next, extend your compassion to those around you. It doesn't matter if they're close friends, family, or strangers you encounter throughout the day. When you see someone struggling, offer a kind word or a listening ear. You may not always know what to say, but just being present and showing that you care can make a world of difference. One of the simplest ways to practice compassion is through the practice of loving kindness meditation. This meditation involves sending good wishes and positive thoughts to others. You can start by focusing on yourself, then gradually expand your circle to include loved ones, acquaintances, and even people you don't know well. Over time, you'll notice that your heart becomes more open and your mind more at peace. But compassion isn't just about doing things for others. It's also about how we hold space for them. Sometimes, all someone needs is for us to simply be present, to listen, and to offer support. There's no need for grand gestures. A compassionate heart is one that is open, understanding, and ready to share in the experience of another. When we practice compassion, we also begin to heal ourselves. Our hearts become lighter, our minds clearer, and we feel more connected to the world around us. The act of giving, whether it's a smile, a kind word, or a helping hand doesn't just benefit others, it also nourishes our own soul. Compassion can be contagious. When we show kindness, it inspires others to do the same. It creates a ripple effect that spreads through communities, workplaces, and even entire societies. Just imagine how the world could change if each of us made compassion a daily practice. How much brighter, warmer, and more peaceful would our lives be? But there's a deeper layer to compassion that is essential to understand. It's not just about helping others when they're in need. Compassion also involves setting boundaries, saying no when necessary, and taking care of ourselves. Sometimes, in our desire to help others, we forget to help ourselves. True compassion is not about sacrificing our own well-being, but about finding a balance that allows us to care for ourselves while also offering support to others. So, when you encounter someone in need, ask yourself, what would a compassionate response look like here? It doesn't always have to involve giving material things or solving problems. Sometimes, just listening, being patient, or offering words of encouragement is the most compassionate thing you can do. In the end, compassion is a choice. It's a choice to care, to understand, and to act. It's a choice that we can make every single day, no matter how small or large the act may seem. When we choose compassion, we choose peace. We choose happiness. We choose to make the world a better place, one small act at a time. As we continue on our journey toward lasting peace and happiness, let's remember that compassion is the heart of it all. When we approach each moment with an open heart, ready to offer kindness and understanding, we open the door to a life filled with warmth, connection, and true happiness. Letting go of attachments, finding freedom. In the quiet of the morning, when the world is still, take a moment to pause. Close your eyes. Breathe in deeply and exhale slowly. Feel the air filling your lungs, and with each breath, release the tension within you. Now, ask yourself this. What are you holding on to that is causing you pain? What attachments have you carried with you for years, believing they are part of who you are? Attachment, in its simplest form, is the act of clinging to something, whether it is a person, an object, a situation, or even an idea. We attach ourselves to things because we believe they define us or give us happiness. But, in reality, these attachments only create suffering. Why? Because everything in life is impermanent. The people, possessions, and circumstances we cling to are all subject to change. The moment we hold on too tightly, we set ourselves up for disappointment when those things inevitably slip away. Imagine a small child holding on to a balloon. The balloon represents something they want, something they think will bring them joy. They hold on to it tightly, but the wind blows, and the balloon slips from their grasp. What happens next? The child is sad, confused, and perhaps even angry. They didn't expect the balloon to float away, yet it did. This is how our attachments work. We hold on to things with the belief that they will give us lasting happiness, but when they inevitably change or disappear, we are left with sorrow. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean that we stop caring, or that we become indifferent to the things or people we love. Instead, it means recognizing that true happiness does not come from external things. It comes from within. When we let go of attachments, we open ourselves up to the flow of life, embracing each moment without the fear of loss. We learn to appreciate what we have, without needing to control or cling to it. The Buddha taught that attachment is one of the primary causes of suffering. In his wisdom, he pointed out that we often mistake the things we hold on to for the source of our happiness. But when we become too attached, we start to fear losing them. And with that fear comes anxiety, stress, and unhappiness. So, what is the solution? The path to freedom lies in learning to let go. Letting go of attachments is not easy, but it is possible. It starts with awareness. You must first recognize that you are holding on to something that is causing you pain. This might be a relationship that is no longer serving you, a job that drains your energy, or an idealized version of yourself that you feel you must maintain. Once you recognize this attachment, you can begin to gently loosen your grip. In Buddhism, we are encouraged to practice mindfulness. This means being fully aware of our thoughts, emotions, and actions in each moment. Mindfulness helps us recognize when we are becoming attached to something. When we catch ourselves, we can take a step back and ask ourselves, is this attachment bringing me peace, Or is it causing me suffering? If it is the latter, we have the power to let it go. Letting go is also about cultivating the wisdom to understand that life is in constant motion. Everything is changing, all the time. The seasons change, the days pass, and people come and go. Holding on to something that is fleeting only causes unnecessary pain. The wisdom of impermanence teaches us to be present, to embrace each moment as it comes, and to let go when the time is right. But letting go isn't just about releasing external things. It's also about letting go of the inner attachments that bind us. One of the strongest attachments we have is to our own identities. We often define ourselves by our past experiences, by our roles, and by the labels others have placed upon us. But these identities are also impermanent. The person you were yesterday is not the same person you are today. When we let go of these rigid identities, we open ourselves to the possibility of becoming something new, something freer. To let go, we must trust the process of life. We must trust that when we release our grip on what no longer serves us, we make space for something new to enter. Letting go isn't a loss, it is an opportunity. It is the freedom to live without the heavy weight of expectations, judgments, and past attachments. When we learn to let go, we begin to experience a profound sense of freedom. We no longer live in fear of losing things. Instead, we become open to the flow of life, embracing both joy and sorrow, knowing that both are temporary. We find peace in the present moment, without needing to hold on to anything that might bring us security or comfort. Our true security lies within ourselves, in the deep sense of inner peace that comes from letting go. As you move through life, consider the things that you are holding on to. Perhaps it is a past hurt that you have carried for years. Maybe it is a dream that no longer serves you, but you hold on to it out of fear of change. It could be a relationship that has become toxic, or an attachment to a material possession that you believe defines you. Whatever it is, take a moment to reflect. Can you release it? Can you let go and trust that you will be okay? In Buddhist practice, we are taught to embrace detachment, not as a form of rejection, but as a form of liberation. Detachment doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop clinging. It means we accept the flow of life without resistance. By letting go of our attachments, we can cultivate a deeper sense of peace and happiness. The more you practice letting go, the easier it becomes. You will find that you no longer feel the need to control every situation or hold on to every relationship. You will become more comfortable with uncertainty, more at ease with change. And most importantly, you will find that the peace you seek is already within you. It has always been there, waiting for you to let go and make space for it. So, how can you begin to let go? Start small. Identify one thing in your life that you are holding on to too tightly, whether it is an object, a relationship, or a belief. Acknowledge the attachment and give yourself permission to release it. It may not be easy, but with practice, you will find that letting go brings you more peace than holding on ever did. In the end, the path to freedom is the path of release. By letting go of attachments, we free ourselves from the chains that bind us to suffering. We step into a world of possibility, where we can experience life fully, without the fear of loss. This is the true meaning of freedom, and it is available to all of us if we are willing to let go. The role of meditation in cultivating peace. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a pond. In its natural state, the water is still and clear, reflecting the world around it in perfect clarity. But life, with all its challenges, often stirs the water. Thoughts, emotions, and worries create ripples and waves, clouding your mind and making it difficult to see clearly. How can you calm these waters and return to that peaceful, clear state? The answer lies in meditation. Meditation is not just about sitting in silence. It's about understanding your mind and learning to guide it back to stillness. It's the practice of being present, of observing the thoughts that arise without getting caught up in them. Just like the ripples on a pond eventually settle, meditation helps calm the turbulent waters of your mind. When you sit down to meditate, the first thing you might notice is the noise, the constant chatter of your thoughts. I have so many things to do today. Did I forget to call someone? What's for dinner? These thoughts seem to appear out of nowhere, and they can feel overwhelming. But here's the key. You don't have to follow every thought. You don't have to act on every impulse. Simply acknowledge the thought, let it float by, and return your attention to the breath. At first, this might feel difficult. The mind is like a restless monkey, jumping from one thought to the next. But over time, with practice, you will notice that the monkey starts to settle. The thoughts that once pulled at you lose their power. The mind begins to calm, and you find yourself more present in the moment. The beauty of meditation is that it doesn't require any special skill or knowledge. All you need is the willingness to sit quietly and observe. You don't need to stop your thoughts or force yourself to think of nothing. Instead, you simply observe them as they come and go, without judgment. This practice helps you develop a sense of distance from your thoughts, allowing you to see them for what they truly are, just passing clouds in the sky of your mind. In Buddhism, meditation is often referred to as mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully aware and present in whatever you are doing. Whether you are eating, walking, or simply breathing, mindfulness helps you return to the present moment and appreciate it fully. It trains your mind to focus on what is happening right now, instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. Think of mindfulness as the art of paying attention. When you eat, truly taste your food. When you walk, feel each step. When you breathe, experience the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. This kind of awareness grounds you in the present moment, allowing you to experience life more fully. And in doing so, it brings peace. One of the most powerful aspects of meditation is that it helps you create space between you and your thoughts. In the hustle and bustle of life, it's easy to get swept up in emotions, reactions, and judgments. Meditation teaches you to pause and observe before responding. Instead of reacting impulsively to situations, you can choose how to respond with greater clarity and wisdom. This doesn't mean that you will stop feeling emotions or that you will never have negative thoughts. What it does mean is that you will learn to respond with equanimity. When anger arises, you will notice it and allow it to pass without becoming consumed by it. When stress appears, you will acknowledge it and return to a place of calm. Through meditation, you create space in your mind, and in that space, peace can grow. The key to effective meditation is consistency. It's like planting seeds in a garden. At first, the seeds may seem small and insignificant, but with time and attention, they begin to grow. Meditation works in the same way. The more you practice, the more peace you cultivate. At first, you might only experience brief moments of calm, but over time, those moments will stretch and deepen. Eventually, the peace you find in meditation will carry over into your daily life. Many people believe that meditation requires hours of sitting in silence, but that's not the case. Even just a few minutes of focused meditation each day can make a significant difference. You can start with 5 minutes, then gradually increase the time as you feel more comfortable. The important thing is to make it a daily habit. Just like brushing your teeth, meditation is something you do to maintain your mental and emotional well-being. Meditation can also be done anywhere. You don't need to sit on a special cushion or in a quiet room. Whether you're at work, at home, or even in a busy public space, you can always find a moment to pause and breathe. The goal is not to escape the world, but to be fully present in it, no matter where you are. As you deepen your meditation practice, you will begin to notice a shift in how you experience the world. Things that once triggered stress or anxiety may no longer have the same impact on you. You may find yourself reacting with more patience and understanding, even in difficult situations. Meditation helps you cultivate a sense of inner peace that remains unshaken, no matter what happens around you. One of the most beautiful aspects of meditation is that it connects you to something greater than yourself. In the silence, you may begin to feel a deep sense of interconnectedness with all beings. You realize that you are not separate from the world. You are a part of it. This understanding brings a sense of harmony and unity, and it helps you develop compassion for others. When your mind is calm and clear, you can see the world through the lens of love and kindness. Meditation also teaches you to embrace the present moment, which is the only moment that truly exists. Often, we are so caught up in our thoughts about the past or future that we miss what is happening right in front of us. Through meditation, you learn to slow down and be fully present. This is where true peace resides, not in the past, not in the future, but in the here and now. As you continue to meditate, you will find that the peace you experience on the cushion begins to extend into every area of your life. You will carry that peace with you, and it will become a natural part of who you are. The more you meditate, the more you will realize that true peace is not something you have to chase. It's already within you, waiting to be uncovered. Meditation is not a quick fix or a magic solution, but a lifelong practice. The peace it brings is not something you can grasp or hold on to. It is something that unfolds naturally as you continue to show up each day. Like a tree growing from a seed, meditation requires patience and dedication, but the rewards are immeasurable. In the end, meditation is not just about finding peace for yourself. It's about becoming a source of peace for others. When you are at peace within yourself, you radiate that peace outward, touching the lives of those around you. Through your practice, you contribute to the greater peace of the world. This is the true power of meditation, a power that can transform not only your own life but the world as a whole. Overcoming negative emotions, a Buddhist perspective. Imagine you're sitting by a calm river. The water is clear, moving gently. Everything feels peaceful, but then a stone is thrown into the water. The water splashes, the ripples spread, and for a moment, the calm is disturbed. That's how emotions work. Sometimes, our minds are peaceful, like the still river, but when a negative emotion enters, it creates ripples, disturbing our inner calm. The question is, how do we stop these ripples from growing into waves? In Buddhism, we understand that emotions, both positive and negative, are temporary. They arise and pass away, just like the ripples on the river. However, the challenge is not to let these emotions control us. When we feel anger, fear, sadness, or frustration, it can feel overwhelming. But the key to peace is learning not to hold on to them. Negative emotions are not our true selves. They are like clouds passing through the sky, and they do not define us. So, how can we overcome negative emotions? The first step is mindfulness. When you feel a negative emotion arise, stop and observe it without judgment. Don't react to it. Simply notice it. I am feeling angry right now. When you can identify the emotion, it becomes less powerful. Just like the river that settles after a stone is thrown, your mind can return to calm when you don't hold on to the disturbance. Let's look at anger, for example. Anger often arises when we feel hurt, misunderstood, or wronged. It feels intense, and it urges us to act, sometimes impulsively. But when we pause and observe our anger, we can see that it's not a part of us, it's just an emotion passing through. In Buddhism, we call this the practice of not identifying with the emotion. You are not your anger. You are not your frustration. You are the awareness observing these feelings. When you remember this, you no longer need to react with aggression or bitterness. You can choose to let go and return to peace. Another important aspect is compassion.